In my previous life, my mother-in-law secretly had a daughter with another man, unbeknownst to my father-in-law. She knelt down and pleaded with me to treat this child as if she were a twin sister to my own. I hesitated but eventually agreed. Later on, the child developed kidney failure. My husband was a compatible donor, but my mother-in-law refused to let him donate a kidney. The child passed away, and only after her death did I discover she was actually my child. When I confronted my mother-in-law upon learning the truth, she pushed me down the stairs, leading to my tragic demise. I opened my eyes to find myself back at the moment when my mother-in-law was begging me. I blinked, a bit disoriented. Sitting on my living room couch, I could almost feel the pain of the fall down the stairs. I couldn't believe that I had been given another chance. Overwhelmed, tears streamed down my face. A familiar voice echoed in my ears. "Phoebe, please, can we say they're twins?" My mother-in-law looked at me, imploring. I clenched my fists tightly, resisting the urge to lash out. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself. Feigning ignorance, I replied, "Mom, what are you talking about? Whether it's twins or a single birth, we know from the start. Why would you want me to claim I had twins? Where would I find an extra child for your son at birth?" My mother-in-law looked flustered and stammered. "Well, I'm pregnant." I feigned shock, raising my voice. "Mom, what are you saying? You're pregnant? Father-in-law has been working abroad for over a year. You've got a love child?" She quickly moved to cover my mouth, visibly tense. I sidestepped her attempt. My mother-in-law spoke, displeased. "What love child? This is my child. Your father-in-law and I lost feelings for each other long ago. We only stayed together for Declan." I looked at her with disdain. "No feelings, yet you cheated and got pregnant with a love child." I emphasized love child intentionally. She was furious and wanted to scold me. But recalling her need for my help, she held back. "Phoebe, I'm begging you, your child and this one are about the same age. By then, we can hide it." I raised my voice, "Mom, what are you saying? You want me to help raise it too?" She hurriedly explained, "No, just under your name. I'll raise it myself, don't worry." I replied, "Mom, why are you being so soft-hearted? It's early, just terminate it." But my mother-in-law became agitated. "No, this is the child between me and Uncle Gary. I can't terminate it." I felt a wave of nausea. A love child, really? Ugly and audacious. 2. I pretended to be in a difficult position. "Mom, I can't decide this. I'll discuss it with Declan." She looked embarrassed. I said, "Your belly will only grow. This can't be hidden from him." My mother-in-law could only nod. In my previous life, it was the same. I told my husband about her pregnancy. He didn't agree with her having the child. He insisted on taking her to the hospital for an abortion. She refused and hid away. She only returned when she was about to give birth, making it too late for an abortion. She knelt on the ground, begging me and my husband. My husband had no choice but to agree to treat the child as a twin. When my husband came home, I told him about my mother-in-law's pregnancy. He was so angry he shook all over. He immediately stormed into her room. "Mom, are you out of your mind? Cheating on Dad and getting pregnant?" Embarrassed by her son's words, my mother-in-law felt ashamed. My husband was furious. "Go and abort it tomorrow." "You might not care, but I do." Hearing about the abortion, my mother-in-law panicked. She held her belly. "No, this child can't be aborted." My husband was livid, his eyes almost spewing fire. "Why not? You want to keep this abomination?" My mother-in-law was furious. "What abomination? This is your brother." My husband retorted, "What kind of brother? It's not Dad's kid. Have you thought about how to explain to Dad after giving birth?" My mother-in-law looked at him with bright eyes. "Don't worry, I've thought it through. This child and Phoebe's are about the same age. We'll pretend they're twins. Your dad won't know. My husband pointed a trembling finger at her. You're insane. I'm telling you, I don't agree. This child must be aborted. My mother-in-law pointed at him, face twisted. You don't agree? I'm your mom. What right do you have to control me? I'm telling you, I'm keeping this child. My husband was too angry to speak. It took him a while to say anything. If you insist on having this child, handle it yourself. 3. The conversation between my mother-in-law and my husband ended on a bad note. I lay in bed, memories of my past life flooding my mind. In my past life, after I went into labor, my mother-in-law insisted on a C-section. She claimed it was to save my husband from the hassle of taking care of 2 babies at different times. The newborns looked similar. My mother-in-law switched the babies while we slept at night. Due to her age, her child was not healthy and often sick. Whenever the child was ill, she was more anxious than I was. At the time, I was glad she cherished her granddaughter. In contrast, she neglected her own child after giving birth. The child often cried from hunger, but she refused to breastfeed. She insisted on formula, often leaving the child hungry or overfed. Sometimes, I couldn't stand it and helped feed the child. As the child grew, my mother-in-law either hit or scolded her. The child always looked timid. In contrast, my daughter was spoiled by her. She became bratty and demanding. Whenever my husband and I tried to discipline her, my mother-in-law intervened. She even scolded us for being too harsh. The 2 children grew up as opposites. One was a little princess, the other a little servant. Thinking of the child's last moments, I was heartbroken. A tiny person, lying quietly on the bed, almost skin and bones. At 4 years old, my mother-in-law's child was diagnosed with uremia. My husband and I actively sought treatment. My mother-in-law was indifferent and blamed us for wasting money. Finally, a kidney transplant was necessary. My husband, feeling sorry for his sister's plight, went for matching. He was a match. Upon learning this, my mother-in-law threw a fit and blocked the donation. In the end, seeing no other choice, she disappeared with the child. When my husband and I found them back in our hometown, the child was already lifeless on the bed. 5. My husband and mother-in-law had a huge fight over this. After the child's passing, I came home early one day. I overheard my mother-in-law on the phone. That's when I discovered the truth. I broke down on the spot. I lunged at her, hitting her with all my might. Then I ran out to report it to the police. Hearing my intention to call the police, she chased after me. The elevator was taking too long, so I wanted to use the stairs. Unexpectedly, she pushed me hard from behind. And with that, my life ended. Lying on the ground, close to death, I seemed to see something familiar flash by. And my daughter stood beside her. Later, under her influence, my daughter claimed I accidentally fell. My husband was devastated but didn't suspect our 4-year-old. The faint sounds outside my room interrupted my thoughts. I knew my mother-in-law must have sneaked out again, just like in the past life. If she insists on having this child, I'll let her. After all, I have a big surprise waiting for her. When my husband realized she was gone, he was frantic and wanted to search. He called all our friends and family but found no leads. He even went back to our hometown but she wasn't there. He wanted to report it to the police. I stopped him. Honey, she's deliberately avoiding you. You won't find her. He was anxious. She's so old and pregnant. What if something happens? I thought, what could happen? She's probably with her old lover. She's hiding because she's afraid you'll make her abort. Don't worry, she'll return when she's further along. If you report it and everyone finds out, how will she face them? He nodded weakly. 6. Soon, I reached late pregnancy. One day, I came home and found my mother-in-law had returned. My husband angrily confronted her. She suddenly knelt before me. Startled, I quickly stepped aside. He rushed to help her up. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at both of us. I said, she was probably hiding because she feared you'd pressure her to end the pregnancy. Don't worry, she'll likely return when she's further along. If you call the police and everyone finds out, how will mother-in-law maintain her reputation? My husband nodded, looking helpless. 6. Soon, I was in the later stages of my pregnancy. One day, I came home to find my mother-in-law had returned. My husband angrily confronted her. Suddenly, she knelt down in front of me. Startled, I quickly stepped aside. My husband rushed to help her up. With tears in her eyes, she looked at both of us. I'm begging you, please. Otherwise, I don't know what else I can do but end my life. My husband glared at her, breathing heavily. Where were you when I told you to deal with it? You wouldn't listen. Now you come to us? Figure it out yourself. I'm not handling this. Hearing this, she began to cry softly. Declan, I know I was wrong. If your father finds out, what will happen to us? This family will fall apart. Please, just help me this once. My husband turned his head away, silent. She then turned to me. Phoebe, if you don't help me, I really can't go on. If people find out, what will I do? My husband said, now you're worried about disgrace? Why didn't you think of that before? She became upset. Fine, I'm ashamed. I'll just go and end it. If you won't help me, I can't live anyway. With that, she rushed towards the balcony. My husband wanted to stop her, but I held him back. She reached the balcony and realized no one was stopping her. She didn't have the courage to climb onto the windowsill. So she just stood there awkwardly. My husband understood her intention. He just looked at her coldly, saying nothing. I almost wanted to laugh. If you're going to pretend to do something drastic, at least make it convincing. You can't even climb up. I feigned concern and went to stop her. Mom, please don't do anything reckless. What will you do with such a big belly? Your secret will come out anyway. Father-in-law will be furious. She shot me an angry glare. My husband snorted. In the end, my husband agreed to her request. I also agreed, which made him feel very sorry for me. He was very considerate towards me. Without keeping the child, the pretense couldn't continue. Soon, I went into labor. Just like before, my mother-in-law insisted on being with me. My husband hurriedly took us to the hospital. Once there, she was taken aback. 7. Aunt Lydia was waiting at the hospital. My husband was also shocked. I looked at her with a cold smile. I had secretly set up a small account long ago. As soon as I went into labor, I sent a photo of her large belly to Aunt Lydia. I even thoughtfully noted the hospital. Aunt Lydia stared intently at her belly. Suddenly, she rushed over and slapped her hard. She didn't react in time and fell to the ground. Soon, cold sweat was beading on her forehead. She clutched her belly, curled up on the floor, and kept groaning in pain. Many onlookers gathered around Aunt Lydia, whispering among themselves. How can you hit a pregnant woman? Is the baby her husband's? She's so old, yet still having kids, absolutely shameless. Soon, my mother-in-law's water broke, and a C-section wasn't necessary. The medical staff quickly took her away. Watching this, I didn't even notice my contractions anymore. Aunt Lydia immediately turned to my husband with anger. Whose child is your mom carrying? My brother is working so hard abroad, and your mom's pregnant? The crowd was abuzz with chatter. Oh my, it's not her husband's child. And this son is clueless, still covering for his mom. My husband hung his head in defeat. I tried to muster some emotions, squeezing out a tear. Aunt Lydia, we had no choice. When we found out my mother-in-law was pregnant, we confronted her. We hoped she'd terminate the pregnancy, but she ran away and only returned to give birth, threatening to make me accept the child as a twin or she'd jump off a building. We couldn't just let her die. I added a few sobs, and Aunt Lydia was furious. That shameless woman, having an illegitimate child behind my brother's back and wanting to register it under our family name. Once she gives birth, I'll make sure she pays. After hours of labor, I successfully gave birth to a daughter. Looking at her, I silently vowed to protect her for life. My mother-in-law struggled for a long time but couldn't deliver, so they switched to a C-section. My husband, fearing Aunt Lydia might act irrationally, sent her home as it got dark. As she left, Aunt Lydia glared angrily at the operating room. Soon, my mother-in-law was transferred to the ward. Just like in the past, we shared a two-person room. She looked pale and much weaker than before. My husband was busy at the hospital, and when he finally relaxed that evening, he quickly fell asleep. I pretended to doze off too. My mother-in-law soon dragged her newly delivered body over to the children, step by step. I peeked with one eye, seeing her gritting her teeth with every step. Sweat poured down her face. Truly, a mother's love is powerful. She swiftly swapped the ID bands on the baby's feet and switched their bassinets. In the past, she insisted on buying identical clothes for the two children, clearly having planned this. Exhausted, she soon fell asleep after lying down. Hearing her steady breathing, I got up and quickly switched the kids back. This time, let her deal with her own child. At dawn, Aunt Lydia came with chicken soup. My husband kindly served it to me. Aunt Lydia's cooking was excellent. The soup was fresh, not greasy at all. My mother-in-law watched, swallowing hard. She hadn't eaten since her C-section. My husband looked at his mom, then hesitated and turned to Aunt Lydia. "Aunt Lydia, how about letting my mom have a bowl? There's no way Phoebe can finish it all." Aunt Lydia was instantly furious. Let her have it? Does she deserve it? She shamelessly gave birth to a bastard and still wants my chicken soup? If Phoebe can't finish, I'd rather feed it to a dog than her. My husband said nothing more, feeling defeated. My mother-in-law glared venomously at Aunt Lydia. Later, my husband's aunt brought family over. In the past, we hid my mother-in-law's childbirth, announcing it only after discharge. Aunt and my mother-in-law never got along in their youth. Their meetings were always tense. Seeing the crowd, my mother-in-law's face turned white, wishing she could disappear. Aunt gave her a disdainful look. "Oh, Maywan, you're so blessed. At this age, you still have a full house of children." My mother-in-law glared at Aunt but said nothing. My husband looked awkward. I happily invited Aunt and them to see the baby. Aunt knew how to twist the knife. "Maywan, who does this baby resemble? Where's the lover? Isn't childbirth a big deal? Why isn't he here? You should have found a better lover, one who's responsible. In the end, your son has to take care of you." Aunt Lydia suddenly remembered. How could I forget? "Tell me, who is this lover? I'll find him." My mother-in-law, face pale, said nothing. Her sister, Auntie, looked at her with frustration. "Sis, just tell us. Let him take the child. Then beg your husband. We can't let this family fall apart." Aunt Lydia spat. "This shameless woman, we can't afford her. She'll give Declan a bunch of siblings. When my brother returns, he'll divorce her." Auntie said, "Declan's aunt, my sister knows she was wrong. They're so old. Divorcing would be a joke." Aunt chimed in, "Not divorcing? Should Declan's dad raise this child? That's unfair." Aunt Lydia ground her teeth in anger. "Dream on. We won't acknowledge this bastard. Once discharged, take this child and leave. Don't expect my brother to raise it." Then my husband's phone rang. It was his father. His furious voice seemed to pierce through the phone, reaching everyone's ears. My mother-in-law, guilty, didn't dare answer. After the call, my husband's face darkened. Seeing this, the relatives left. We stayed in the hospital for a few days and were soon discharged. When we got home, we found Aunt Lydia blocking the door. "This shameless woman gave birth to a bastard. She can't enter the Harper family's home." My husband quickly tried to pull Aunt Lydia aside. "Aunt Lydia, let's go inside and talk. Standing outside isn't good. Plus, Phoebe can't be in the wind." Aunt Lydia snatched the keys, opened the door, and pushed me inside. Then she raised her voice. "My brother worked hard abroad, and this shameless woman hooked up with a wild man and gave birth to a bastard. My father-in-law went abroad with villagers to work, aiming to pay off loans early. 3 years abroad could earn $500,000, with no return allowed. Many neighbors gathered to watch the drama. Aunt Lydia, tell me, should I let her into our home?" Nosy Mrs. King immediately spoke up. "No wonder we haven't seen Declan's mom in months. She was hiding to give birth. Poor Mr. Harper, working alone overseas. His wife gave him a daughter." Downstairs, Mrs. Lee added. "At her age, she's shameless. In our day, she'd be punished severely. Dressing up all the time, trying to seduce wild men." Many people agreed. "Yes, Mr. Harper is a good man. Unlucky to marry her, and she had the nerve to bring the child back. Truly outrageous." Hearing this, my mother-in-law's face turned white, unable to argue. My husband's face was grim too. Aunt Lydia refused to back down, and my husband had no choice but to secretly send my mother-in-law to the old home. Otherwise, Aunt Lydia wouldn't allow her there either. I could imagine the chaos when she returned to the village with the child. And with Aunt there, life wouldn't be easy for her. Without my mother-in-law's interference, my postpartum period was peaceful. I named the baby Sunny Harper, hoping she would have a new beginning and bright future like the rising sun. Countless times, I dreamt of falling down the stairs, desperately trying to see what that familiar thing was. The dream was always hazy. I felt like I was missing something important. Half a year passed, and my mother-in-law secretly returned with the child. The child had been sick for days, and she feared something might happen, so she brought her back. Looking at my daughter from the past life, the nearly 7-month-old child seemed about the size of Sunny at 4 months. Her cries were weak. My mother-in-law, self-righteously, told me, "Phoebe, this child is sick. Take her to the hospital." I looked at her, speechless. "Mom, I have to care for my child." "You should go." My mother-in-law gazed lovingly at the child in my arms. Her motherly love was almost palpable. Hearing my refusal, she looked at me disapprovingly, mumbling, "I told you to take her to the hospital. Don't blame me if something happens." I pretended not to hear. "Mom, what are you saying?" "Mother-in-law, nothing. If you won't go, don't go. That girl is tough. She'll survive." I thought, with a mom like you, isn't that a tough fate? When my husband came home, seeing his mom back, his face fell. Noticing the child had a fever, he quickly took her to the hospital for medicine. The maternal instinct was almost overwhelming. When I mentioned I wasn't going, my mother-in-law looked at me with displeasure, muttering to herself, "I told you to take that girl to the hospital, so don't blame me if anything happens." I pretended not to hear her. "Mom, what did you say?" Mother-in-law, "Oh, nothing. If you don't want to go, then don't. That girl's life is trivial, she'll get through it." I thought to myself, having a mom like you isn't trivial? When my husband came home from work and realized my mother-in-law was back, his expression turned sour. He also noticed our child had a fever, so he quickly took her to the hospital for medicine. Upon returning, he looked at my mother-in-law with dissatisfaction. "Mom, weren't you supposed to stay at the old house? Why are you back?" My mother-in-law retorted unhappily, "I was being talked about every day at the old house. How could I stay there?" "Husband, you've done such disgraceful things, of course, people are going to gossip about you." Her expression changed. But what I didn't expect was that my mother-in-law had a big surprise in store for us. 12. Bang, 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 bang. Early in the morning, the door was being pounded loudly. The child was still asleep, and I was afraid she would be woken up. I quickly got up to open the door. A middle-aged woman, about my mother-in-law's age, barged in as soon as I opened it. She pushed me aside with one shove. I was taken aback until I heard her speak. "Phoebe Johnson, come out here." Hearing the voice, my mother-in-law slowly emerged from her room. Spotting the visitor, she immediately tried to retreat back inside. As soon as the woman saw her, she rushed up and grabbed her by the hair. I quickly stepped aside, not wanting to get caught in the conflict, and considerately opened the half-closed door completely. "You shameless woman, seducing my husband? Have you no shame? Watch me tear you apart today." With that, she began slapping my mother-in-law wildly. The commotion quickly attracted the attention of neighbors who loved a spectacle. "The mistress's wife has come to confront her. What a disgrace." My mother-in-law tried desperately to dodge, but the middle-aged woman fought even harder. "Weren't you trying to seduce someone? I'll let you seduce as much as you like today." With that, she started tearing my mother-in-law's clothes. My mother-in-law desperately covered her chest as her clothes were pulled down to her underwear. "Oh, Phoebe is quite the flirt, wearing pink at this age." Many people laughed quietly, but no one stepped in to break it up. Suddenly, a middle-aged man rushed in and grabbed the woman. "It must be my mother-in-law's true love, Mr. Johnson." Seeing him, my mother-in-law's eyes immediately filled with tears. "Mr. Johnson." The middle-aged man looked at her with concern. His wife became even angrier seeing this. Another slap. "You're still daring to flirt right in front of me, shameless woman." 13. Mr. Johnson immediately defended, "What nonsense are you talking about? Phoebe and I are innocent." His wife got even angrier. "Phoebe? You call her that so affectionately. Innocent? I've seen your flirtatious texts. Sending nudes at your age, and you call that innocent? You think I'm blind? Should I show your photos to everyone?" My mother-in-law turned pale. Mr. Johnson's face didn't look good either. "Don't talk nonsense." "What nudes?" "I don't know. Phoebe must have sent them by mistake." My mother-in-law quickly responded. "Yeah, you misunderstood, I meant to send them to my man." Mrs. Johnson, ugh, still making excuses. I'm embarrassed to even repeat those dirty words. "Weren't you calling him Brother Johnson all the time? Your man's last name is Johnson? Shameless woman." The crowd didn't mind the drama. "Show us the photos. Let's see how Phoebe's figure is." "Ha ha ha. Isn't this the father of Phoebe's child?" Picking up on the key words. "Mrs. Johnson, what child? You didn't know? Phoebe had a child. Her man has been abroad for over a year. She wanted to pass it off as twins, but Aunt Lydia found out and exposed it." Mrs. Johnson immediately looked at Mr. Johnson, who guiltily lowered his head. Mrs. Johnson stormed into the room and saw the child. She immediately started hitting her husband. "You shameless man, our son is about to get married, and you have another child. I've worked hard to take care of the family, and you're out there raising a mistress. Let's divorce, you go live with this woman." 14. Mrs. Johnson stormed off. Mr. Johnson gave my mother-in-law a look and quickly chased after her. My mother-in-law sat on the floor crying alone. My husband came back and hurriedly asked what had happened. The moment I saw my husband, it felt like all the blood in my body froze. I couldn't hear any other sounds. The clothes my husband was wearing were the same as the ones I saw when I fell down the stairs. The figure in the hallway was my husband. He watched me fall down the stairs and did nothing. I couldn't believe why my husband would do that. My husband nudged me. "Honey, what are you thinking about?" I snapped back and looked at him. When he spoke to me just now, there was obvious impatience in his eyes. I never noticed before. I said I had a headache and ignored the two of them, heading back to the room. Back in the room, I seemed to remember many details I had never paid attention to before. He always seemed to care about our daughter, but he never looked after her for more than an hour. He always found various excuses to pass her back to me. He always frowned when changing her diaper. since the child was born, we haven't been intimate. He kept saying he felt sorry for me and wanted to wait for me to recover. Maybe he had long since despised me, maybe he had someone else outside. When my husband came into the room at night, I pretended to get close to him. He was interested and came over to kiss me, but stopped when he saw all the stretch marks on my belly. I saw the disdain flash in his eyes. But I pretended to be calm. I pushed him away. Said I wanted to check on our daughter. So he had already started to despise me long ago. 15. I didn't know if my husband knew about what my mother-in-law did in a past life. Whether he had any part in my death. In the middle of the night, while asleep, I dreamt again of my tragic death in my past life. This time I saw clearly the person at the corner of the stairs. It was indeed my husband. My mother-in-law pushed me down the stairs. My husband rushed over immediately. My daughter, as my mother-in-law had taught her, said, "Mommy fell down by herself." My husband glared at our daughter. Then he looked at my mother-in-law with a sinister look. My mother-in-law panicked, "She fell by herself, it has nothing to do with me." My husband shouted angrily, "I saw it all, why did you do it?" My mother-in-law still argued, "I didn't mean to do it." We were arguing, I got agitated and accidentally did it. Declan, Mom really didn't mean it. You can't tell anyone, or Mom will go to jail. My husband held me without saying a word. My mother-in-law got anxious, kneeling and begging him. Declan, Mom begs you, if Mom goes to jail, she'll only have death as an option. Don't you have someone outside? If she dies, you can be with that person. If you want to report me, I'll just die now. Saying this, she was about to rush down the stairs. My husband grabbed her. I do have someone outside, but I never wanted her dead. She's my wife, the mother of my child. I can't forgive you, nor can I forgive myself. In my previous life, my consciousness was somewhat confused when I was dying, some parts weren't remembered clearly. Turns out this is how it went down. In the end, my husband drove my mother-in-law away, taking care of our daughter alone. He never remarried. I woke up from the dream. Looking at my sleeping husband. My heart was filled with mixed emotions. Although my husband didn't know about our daughter's situation. He didn't participate in my death, but he covered for my mother-in-law. And he did cheat, I can't forgive a man who's already tainted. I used to never check his phone, I trusted him completely. Now I realize it was just a joke. 16. I secretly opened my husband's phone. Soon I found his conversation with the mistress. The latest one was today. Husband, every time I see her belly, I lose interest. She's nothing compared to your figure, and her chest is sagging. Mistress, Chen, you're so bad, she's had a baby after all. Husband, you're still such a little seductress, I'll pamper you more another day. Mistress, hee hee, you're so annoying. So when are you going to divorce her and marry me? Husband, wait a bit longer, she's still breastfeeding, can't divorce yet. I picked up my phone and took a picture as evidence. Quietly put the phone back in place. In the morning, I found my mother-in-law packing her things. Husband, I lost all interest when I saw her stomach. She doesn't have your figure, and her chest has started to sag. Mistress, oh, Mr. Harper, you're so naughty. Remember, she has had a baby. Husband, you're still such a little temptress. I'll spoil you properly another day. Mistress, you're so annoying. So, when will you divorce her and marry me? Husband, let's wait a little longer, she's still breastfeeding, so I can't divorce her yet. I discreetly picked up my phone and recorded the conversation. Quietly, I put the phone back. In the morning, I saw my mother-in-law packing her things. Me, Mom, where are you going? Mother-in-law didn't look up, I'm moving out so I don't disturb you too. I guess she felt embarrassed staying here. The neighbors all know that his wife confronted him. Mother-in-law, Phoebe, I haven't found a place yet. Can you take care of Nora for me? I'll pick her up once I find a place. I looked at her calmly. Mom, you should take her with you. I'm too busy. Mother-in-law was a bit upset. How can you be too busy with just 2 kids? You don't have to do much for her, just feed her. Me, that's not right. A child isn't a pet, you can't just feed her and call it a day. If you're leaving, take her with you. If you're staying, then stay. Mother-in-law gave me a glare. She packed up and made a call. Soon, Mr. Johnson came to pick her up, wearing a mask. His eyes were bruised, probably from being hit by his wife. Are these two really being so open about their affair now? Husband comes home later and later. I don't mind. As long as I can take care of my daughter, I'm fine. I just need him to hand over his salary on time every month. In a previous life, my daughter had kidney disease, which was always my worry. I can't divorce him now. If we divorce and he remarries, what if my daughter ends up with the same condition? He definitely won't donate a kidney. Even if he agrees, the new wife won't. I can't take that risk. I have to keep him around as a potential donor. Mr. Johnson divorced, leaving with nothing. Mother-in-law and Mr. Johnson lived together, practically like a couple. Husband argued with mother-in-law over it a few times, but couldn't change anything. A year passed just like that. I watched as my husband's mistresses came and went. I would gather evidence every now and then. One day, husband returned looking pale. Wife, Lila is gone. I was stunned, tears streaming down uncontrollably. In a previous life, I treasured her for 5 years. Feelings aren't fake. I just wanted the 2 kids to return to their original places, never thought she'd die. I choked up. Lila, how could this happen? Husband looked sorrowful. Mom went out to play cards, leaving Lila asleep at home. Who knew she'd wake up looking for her mom and fall out the window? We went to see Lila. The little girl no longer resembled the one from my past life. Her hair was yellow and messy. Her face was pale, still with blood stains. She looked malnourished. I felt a pang of guilt. Was it right to leave her with mother-in-law? Maybe I should have kept both kids with me. Mother-in-law looked at me with a complex gaze. But she didn't seem too sad. Mr. Johnson's eyes were red, glaring at mother-in-law as if he wanted to tear her apart. Mother-in-law had injuries on her face, immediately lowering her head when she met his gaze. I stopped crying, combed her hair nicely, wiped her face, changed her into a pretty little dress. We sent the child off on her final journey together. In a daze, I seemed to hear the little girl sweetly calling me mom again. After returning home, Mr. Johnson threw out all of mother-in-law's things. Mother-in-law looked panicked. Mr. Johnson, what are you doing? Mr. Johnson glared at her venomously. I left with nothing for you, and you couldn't even look after our child. I told you long ago, stop playing cards and take care of the kid. I worked hard for a better life for you, do you deserve it? Mother-in-law hurried to explain, no, Mr. Johnson, listen to me, our daughter. Seeing me there, she stopped talking. Mr. Johnson didn't want to hear her excuses, closing the door. Mother-in-law knocked to no avail, so she followed us back. Later, she visited often, always returning dejectedly. Gradually, she stopped mentioning Mr. Johnson. My daughter's first birthday came quickly. I booked a hotel for a birthday party. Invited many relatives. Mother-in-law dared not face the relatives. She gave my daughter a gold bracelet. Only my husband and I attended the party. My daughter received so many gifts, smiling brightly. Returning home at night, I found my father-in-law back. Father-in-law sat on the couch, face dark. Mother-in-law, bruised, cried on the floor. Father-in-law was an honest man, always good to her. When he was home, he did the shopping and cooking. Never let mother-in-law do housework. Husband saw her condition, merely frowned, saying nothing. Dad, why didn't you call for me to pick you up? Father-in-law, no need for that, I'm not a kid. Tomorrow, I'll take your mom back. You and Phoebe live well. I was surprised, thinking he'd surely divorce her. Mother-in-law shouted anxiously, I won't go back, I want to stay with Declan and them. Father-in-law's gaze turned harsh, slapping her. To keep embarrassing yourself here? Come back with me. She cringed away, not daring to speak. The next day, she left with him. Later, I visited father-in-law occasionally with my husband. Every time, she had new injuries. At first, she looked at my husband pleadingly, hoping he'd take her away. He always avoided her gaze. Her eyes became more vacant over time. Sometimes, seeing my daughter, they'd flicker. On our last visit, I kindly told her the truth. Her eyes cleared, glaring at me hatefully. Not long after, I heard she'd died. She jumped into the river. Time passed, reaching the time of my daughter's previous diagnosis. Though I took her for annual checkups, I was especially nervous this year. When I learned everything was normal, the weight on my heart finally lifted. This life, heaven finally favored me. I quickly filed for divorce. At first, he was shocked, refusing. Men are like that, they scorn you but won't let go. I laid out all his infidelity evidence. He looked at me in disbelief, wanting to say something. Seeing the evidence, he opened his mouth, but said nothing. Our divorce went smoothly. Perhaps feeling guilty, he left the house to me. Most of the money too. Declan still sends a quarter of his salary monthly as child support for our daughter. I enrolled her in preschool. Found a job I like. On breaks, I take her on trips. She loves the sea. We play on the beach together. Hand in hand, we walk slowly into the distance.